Hi everyone, I'm Kendall, and today I'm going to be reading Wall-E, a read-aloud storybook. If you had lived during the early 29th century, you might have been cruising aboard a luxury ship. You might have thought no one was left on Earth, but there was someone there, and he had a very important job to do. He was the only one suited for the job, and when he finished it, all the people would be able to return to Earth. That someone's name was Wall-E, which stood for Waste Allocation Load Lifter, Earth Class. Wall-E was a trash compacting unit whose job was to clean up the polluted planet. He made the most of it by finding treasures in the trash every day. Wall-E liked his job, but he was very lonely. On his way home, Wall-E and his pet cockroach always passed holographic billboards that played by and large commercials. B&L was a superstore that had controlled the entire planet. Centuries earlier, it had made these ads to invite humans to space for vacation-like cruises. The head of B&L had promised to clean up Earth while the people were away. Every night, as Wall-E settled into the trailer he called home, he put away the treasures he had found during the day. He also turned on a video of the movie Hello, Dolly. Wall-E hoped he might one day fall in love with someone, just like the people in the movie. Then he wouldn't be lonely anymore. One day, something different happened, and it changed Wall-E's life forever. It all started when Wall-E found a new kind of treasure that he had never seen before. It was thin and green and very delicate. Ooh! Wall-E was filled with wonder. He lifted his beautiful treasure and placed it in an old boot. Later that evening, Wall-E heard a loud roaring sound coming from the sky. A probe ship landed in a fiery blaze, stirring up a dust storm. Out floated a sleek white robot with bright blue eyes. Her name was Eve. Wall-E fell in love instantly. Wall-E followed Eve like a puppy dog. He couldn't stay away from her. She appeared to be looking for something. Wall-E wanted to make friends with Eve, but she seemed wary of strangers. When Eve heard someone behind her, she fired her blaster arm. Luckily, Wall-E was hiding safely behind a boulder. Finally, Eve seemed to give up on her search. Wall-E approached slowly and showed her how he compacted trash. She told him her job was a secret. Then the two robots introduced themselves. Eva? Wall-E repeated, mispronouncing her name. Wall-E took Eve to his home. He wanted to show her everything. Then Wall-E turned on his video of Hello, Dolly. He danced for Eve as the music in the movie played. He even tried to hold her hand, like the people in the movie. But Eve didn't understand. Wall-E showed Eve the little green thing in the boot. That was when something strange happened. Eve zeroed in on the green thing, snatched it away, and locked it inside her. Then she shut down completely. Her only sign of life was a flashing green light on her chest. Eva? Wall-E tapped her timidly. Eve didn't answer or move. It was as if she was asleep. Wall-E tried everything to wake her up, but it was no use. Then one day, the probe ship returned to pick up Eve. Eva! Wall-E cried frantically. He raced to the ship that held Eve inside. Then he grabbed on tight as it blasted into space. Space was full of wonders. As Eve slept inside the ship, Wall-E got a view of Earth that he had never seen before. The stars were beautiful. Wall-E wished Eve could share the sights that swept by him. At least he was near her and could keep following her wherever she was going. Finally, the probe ship reached its destination. Ooh! Wally stared in awe at the massive spaceship in front of him. It was the Axiom, one of the many luxury starliners in the B&L fleet. The Axiom housed a whole city full of humans. The people had grown very lazy during their centuries in space. Robots did everything for them. Soon, Wally and Eve were inside the Axiom's docking bay. The captain's robot assistant, Gopher, quickly whisked Eve away. Wally took off after them, eager to catch up with Eve. Then a cleaner bot named M.O. joined the chase, determined to give dusty, rusty Wally a good scrubbing. Wally raced through the Axiom, trying to keep up with Eve. Suddenly, a woman named Mary blocked his way. Desperate to get past her, Wally pulled the wires on Mary's hover chair. Her hollow screen shut off, and for the first time in her life, Mary turned her head to see the world around her. Wally waved happily as he moved past Mary. Wally followed Eve all the way to the Axiom's control room. He hid as the captain and his robot autopilot, Otto, entered. Otto quickly reactivated Eve. The captain pressed the green light on Eve's chest. Eve woke up. "Eva!" Wally gasped, delighted. "Wally?" Surprised, Eve motioned for him to be quiet. Meanwhile, the captain looked at his manual to find out what to do next. The captain learned that Eve's secret mission was to find signs of life on Earth. She had done that by bringing Wally's little green treasure, a plant, to the captain. The living plant proved that it was safe to return to Earth. But when the captain eagerly opened Eve's storage compartment, it was empty. The plant was gone. "Send her to the repair ward," the captain ordered, pointing to Eve and sighing with disappointment. Then he spotted Wally. The little bot rolled up to the captain and happily shook his hand. "And fix that robot as well. Have it hosed down or something. It's filthy." Otto ordered Gopher to take Eve and Wally away. The little cleaner bot, M.O., suddenly appeared and followed, still obsessed with scrubbing Wally in his dirty trail. Broken reject bots filled the Axiom's robot repair ward, but when Wally saw Eve's blaster arm being removed, he thought she was being hurt. He grabbed the arm and accidentally blasted a control panel. The doors opened, and the reject bots were free. They carried their new hero, Wally, out into the hallway. Suddenly, steward bots blocked their escape route. Wally and Eve were on the run. Eve rushed Wally to a life pod. She wanted to send him back to Earth. Then he would be safe, and she could finish her mission. But Wally wouldn't leave without her. Before they could argue, someone approached. Hiding, Wally and Eve watched as Gopher appeared and put something into the life pod. It was a plant. Wally scooted into the pod to get the plant back, just as Gopher activated the launch sequence. Whoosh! Eve raced into space to help Wally. "Eee!" Wally screamed, trying to work the pod's controls. Then he accidentally pushed the self-destruct button. "Wally!" Eve screamed as the pod exploded. Then she saw him rocketing toward her with the fire extinguisher. He had escaped, but the plant? Delighted, Eve twirled closer to Wally. An electric arc passed between their heads. It was a robot kiss. From inside the ship, Mary watched Wally and Eve. "Hey, look at that," she said to John, another passenger. She disabled his hollow screen. Blinking, John looked out at the dancing robots. Then he smiled at Mary and reached out and held her hand. Back inside the ship, Eve told Wally to wait for her while she delivered the plant to the captain. Overjoyed, the captain held the plant as he watched the holographic images Eve had recorded on Earth. If that plant could survive on Earth, then so could people. Eve watched the holographic images too, but she saw something different. She saw how Wally had tenderly cared for her while she was shut down, and she finally understood love. The captain ordered Otto to set a course for Earth, but Otto refused. He knew that long ago B&L had given up on Earth. They believed it was too polluted and would never sustain life again. Gopher grabbed the plant and threw it over to the trash chute. Down it went. Then it came back up. Wally had caught the plant and climbed up the chute. The captain was thrilled until Otto zapped Wally. Then both Wally and Eve were dropped into the trash chute. Wally and Eve tumbled down into the garbage bay. M.O. tumbled down after them, still determined to clean Wally. Eve desperately wanted to repair her damaged friend, but she needed parts from Earth. Now Eve had to get the Axiom back to Earth so that she could save Wally. She blasted a hole for them to escape through. Then she flew Wally and M.O. up and out of the garbage bay. When Eve and Wally arrived at the bridge, the steward bots tried to stop them. Luckily, the reject bots began to pour into the hall to help their hero Wally. While the rejects bravely battled the stewards, Eve flew the injured Wally toward a special machine called the hollow detector. The captain, who had been locked in his cabin by Otto, decided it was time to take action. He tricked Otto into thinking that he had the plant. "Ha! Look at what I've got, Otto," the captain taunted. Otto lowered himself to the captain's quarters to get the plant. That was when the captain tackled him. The two battled their way back to the control room. The captain pushed Otto aside and activated the hollow detector. Now Eve could place the plant inside the machine and finish her mission. As soon as she saw the hollow detector, Eve raced toward it with the plant. But back on the bridge, Otto tried to lower the hollow detector. Using the last bit of energy he had, Wally held the machine up. Finally, the captain stood. He flicked off Otto's power. "You are relieved of duty," the captain said. Eve placed the plant in the hollow detector. The computer scanned it and announced, "Plant origin verified. Set course for Earth." The Axiom and its passengers could go home. Eve had completed her mission. The hollow detector rose off Wally. He fell to the floor, crushed and broken. "Wally?" Eve held him close, but his power light dimmed. Eve called his name again. Wally didn't answer. Eve knew she needed to take Wally back to his trailer to repair him. But would they get there in time? Soon the Axiom landed on Earth. The passengers watched as the captain ventured out alone and knelt down in the dirt. He dug a hole and placed the plant in the ground. Meanwhile, Eve raced the gravely damaged Wally to his trailer. The concerned cockroach hopped on board for the ride. The reject bots and Wally's pet cockroach looked on with worry as Eve scrambled to repair Wally. When she was done, Eve blasted a hole in the roof. Sunlight poured in to recharge Wally. Would he be okay? Wally woke up. He rolled right past Eve, past his cockroach, and past the reject bots. He had a job to do. Compact trash. He was alive, but something was wrong. He was not the same Wally. He no longer had feelings. Eve was heartbroken. What could she do? Eve reached out, and a spark of energy, a robot kiss, passed between them as she grasped his hand. Eva? Wally's eyes began to light up and focus, and the first thing he saw was Eve. Back to his old self again, Wally realized that his greatest dream had come true. He was holding hands with Eve, and he and Eve would be together forever. Eve and Wally looked out over the calm, quiet Earth. There was still a lot of work to do to clean up the planet, but Earth and her people were going to be okay. And it was all because of one little robot with a great big heart. The end. Thanks for watching.